Alright, for this video we're going to talk about contour line drawing and blind contour drawing. So before we get started, go ahead and pause the video and make sure that you have both a sketchbook, a pencil, and an eraser. I'll be doing most of my work with a pen so you can see easier on the video, but I'd like you to follow along with a pencil. Alright, so once we're set, let's go ahead and define what contour line is. Contour line is the edges of an object. So if you were looking at this tin, it would be just simply the edges of the tin. In contour line drawing, it's much the same. You're looking at drawing just the lines of the object, maybe some of the interior lines if they're important, but no shading. So let's go ahead and write that down. A contour line drawing is a drawing that follows the lines of an object as well as some of the important interior lines. No shading. Line contour drawing is where you're doing this line contour drawing, but you're doing it without looking at your pencil or the page, just the object that you are drawing. So line contour drawing is a drawing where you are not looking at your pencil or paper during the drawing. Alright, so now that I've given both of those definitions, let's go ahead and look at a few examples. So I'm going to flip back in my sketchbook to a sketch of a stapler. This is a contour drawing. There's no shading involved, and it's just simply the lines of the stapler. You can see where I hinted at where shading would be by simply using a thicker line. Though it's not necessary in contour drawing to differentiate between darker and lighter, you can just do a nice simple drawing. Here I did go ahead and use a thicker line in some places. Let's go ahead and pause real quick, go back to our definition of contour drawing, and underneath, let's go ahead and practice a quick contour drawing of an apple. Alright, as you can see, I have gotten an apple from my kitchen. I'm going to hold it in my non-dominant hand while I draw just the contour lines of this apple with my other hand. So I'm going to just start with the exterior shape, and then I might add some of these interior things as well. So this apple is a pretty basic apple shape. And it has a nice long stem that comes up. Like that. And then there's this divot here. And down below here I can see a little bit of the interior part of this apple. And then we have a very simple line drawing of an apple. Alright, so now that we've seen what contour drawing can be like and how simple or complex it can be, let's go ahead and take a look at doing a blind contour drawing. So for this, we're going to flip to a new sheet in our sketchbook and go ahead and find yourself a blank sheet of copy paper, or it could even be something from the recycling bin. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that you want it to be about the size of a regular sheet of paper. Okay, so what we're going to do for this is we're going to make a tent to make it so that we can't see what we're drawing on the page. It can be really tempting to look down, and this way, if you do look down at your page, you won't be able to see what you're drawing. Right, so we're gonna go ahead and take this piece of paper and we're gonna fold it in half and gently crease it. It doesn't need a firm crease, like that. And then go ahead and take your pencil, and about halfway through, you're just gonna go ahead and punch a hole through and continue putting your pencil through so the sharp edge is on the inside of the tent. And then you can just wiggle it down as much as you want so that as you're drawing, see, if I was drawing right now, you would not be able to see what I was drawing, and neither would I. Now, the point of doing this is as we are looking at an object and studying it, we want the signals from our eyes to pass to our hands. So this is a practicing in hand-eye coordination, and it also is a practice in looking at an object. Instead of relying on what you think you see, you're really looking to see what you see. So for this, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to grab a set of my paintbrushes. They're quite large, the whole setup, so I'm going to set it right off camera where you can't see it. But I'd like you to go gather a few objects from your house and set them up for yourself. And while you do that, I am going to go ahead and do a quick drawing here. All right, so I have done a quick drawing of my my sketching brushes. Whatever you've chosen to put out for yourself, hopefully you've done a drawing as well. And let's go ahead and remove our tent and see what our drawings look like. All right, so as you can see with mine, my drawing of my paintbrushes and cup is very loosely rendered. It's just lines, there's no shadows. But one thing you can see, if we hold these brushes up next to it, you can see there's the curving top, the lines that go down, the curving bottom, which is the angle I was looking at it, you can see curving bottom, and then a bunch of brushes that gather in and sprout upward. So as I was drawing it, I was trying to think of the relationship, how tall, how far I needed to make that line go back down, and how far it should go back up again to make the relationship between the top of the brushes and the jar, and the top of the jar and the bottom, as well as how to curve my line around to make it look like this was a cup holding something. So, like with all things in art, some people are going to be gifted in one area more than another area. I personally am not very good with hand-eye coordination, but in a lot of practice, I've become a little bit better, just a little bit. Here are a few other examples I have made, and some interesting things happening. Here's a very scribbly apple. Here is a portrait I did of my daughter Dorothy, and if we cover up the bottom half, it looks decent, a nose, some eyebrows, some eyes. They're kind of well proportioned, maybe a bit far out, but it really fell apart here when it came to the mouth. The mouth and the chin are well proportioned, but should have come up a bit. So I kind of learned as I looked at this that I need to pay a bit more attention to the relationship between those things. Here's another sketch of paintbrushes, and one more here of a house plant, which turned out very abstract indeed. So go ahead and try this out a few more times. Don't be distraught if your picture turns out really abstract and unrecognizable. Keep at it and you'll start to see that you become more and more familiar with how to move your arm and fingers in relationship to what you're seeing.